Hi my friend, welcome. I'm twin number 3. I want to talk a little bit about sex and gender, both in the Bible and now. These can be difficult topics to talk about. For one thing, in the Western world, we're still developing definitions. Collectively, we're still sorting out our concepts. But I want to attempt to clarify some of the things that I've said in videos so far. I've talked a great deal about sex and gender. The reason for that is very simple. The book of Genesis places a huge emphasis on sex and gender, especially at the beginning of the book. Now that's really no great surprise. If you think about sex in terms of chakras, the energy centers of the body, then the second chakra, the sexual chakra, is really the creative energy center of the body. And the first part of the book of Genesis is concerned with creating. In the first part of Genesis, there are two creatings. We're told about both because they're still ongoing. They're very much relevant to us now. The first creating is by fragmented Elohim, creator spirits who are fragmented into either male or female. These Elohim create a world system that is obsessed with procreation. Everything is evaluated in terms of how it contributes to procreation. Other major concerns are control, regulation, domination and subordination, time, feeding, and exploitation. Overall, it sounds a great deal like Western society, and there's no doubt about it. Western society is a fragmented Elohim system. According to the Bible, this way leads to death, and we can see that happening now on a planetary level. But there is a second way, and it appears in Genesis 2. In this account, a different divine name, YHVH Elohim, makes one person a complete person. That person is charged with protecting and serving the garden, that person's realm of influence. All of the rest of the Bible can be seen as a competition between these two worldviews. Now in our world there are many people who claim to base their lives on the Bible. Why then do we have so little competition in our world? After all, the Elohim system overwhelmingly dominates. If such people really believed in the Bible, then they would live the second way. Now I'm sure there are many reasons for why they've failed. The point is, if they don't change course very quickly, we're all in for a much worse time. So that's part of why I've dwelt on this first part of Genesis at great length. It's a major emphasis of Genesis and of the whole Bible. Those who take the Bible seriously really need to grasp the two systems in Genesis, the way of death and the way of life. In this video, I will use the term sex to refer to anatomy, to the body. There we have three options: male, female, and intersexed. Now the fragmented Elohim did not allow for a third option for intersexed people. A worldview in which everyone is either male or female is an incomplete worldview, a false worldview. And these falsehoods affect people intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. A world that sees everything in dualisms, male and female, black and white, is not a real world. And humans who think this way are bound to make gigantic errors. We can see this even in the natural world. What is light? Is it a particle, a photon? Is it a wave? Well, in fact, it's both. But the Western world has reduced everyone to male or female. What's the very first question that was asked about you when you were born? Boy or girl? It's kind of weird when you think about it. You have a baby and the first thing you do is check out its genitals. A world that sees everyone as either male or female can then create very strict sex roles. All males have to act a certain way. All females are supposed to do certain things. Such a world has very little room for individuality, for growth, for spirituality, for reality. Fortunately, there are people who are intersexed. In fact, the percentage of babies who are intersexed is very rapidly increasing. This may be why in the Bible the Christian and Jewish God, when choosing someone to work with, chose Abraham. Abraham was intersexed. When Abraham was born, no one could answer the question, boy or girl. And if you know something about Israelite customs, you can see in the Bible that Abraham played both male and female roles. Now, if God preferred an intersex person over all other people on the planet, what does that tell you about what our attitude should be? Perhaps one thing we can do is escape very strict sex roles. In addition, we have the matter of gender. As I use the term here, gender does not refer to the body, but to the real person. Now yes, our bodies are part of us, but there's more to us than just our bodies. One major problem of the fragmented Elohim system is that we tend to see each other as only our bodies. That's a false, dehumanizing view of every one of us. Now gender is a little more difficult to define, and there certainly can be more genders than there are sexes. But we all know that there are many people who feel like their bodies are wrong for them. The sex of the body does not match the gender of the person very well. If these people are lucky and have a lot of money, they can afford to change their bodies. I think that when people do make such a change, they are following one of the major patterns of the Bible. Here's what tends to happen in the Bible. Someone, usually Elohim, creates something that is flawed or unjust. Someone else, usually YHVH or someone acting on behalf of this deity, then intervenes to correct the situation. In the Israelite system of thought, the natural world, the physical world, was largely under the control of Elohim. However, the Bible makes it very clear that the natural world is not a perfect world. That's no surprise once you realize that the Elohim of Genesis 1 are not the same thing as God. This was not a perfect creation. The chapter is there to tell us what the problem is. So we can and should fix things, make things better, as long as we stay within the guidelines of serving and protecting. There is no room for personal enrichment. So no, you can't bulldoze a rainforest, make a lot of money, and say that you're following this guideline. But the soul should rule the body. So of course, corrective surgery is very much compatible with the guidelines of the Bible. Now we might look at the second creation account in Genesis as relating to gender. There, YHVH, 4 letters, and Elohim, combined name, make a complete person. According to ancient Hebrew writings, there are 6 genders in the Bible. So we have 4, and since Elohim's already been associated with male and female, that gives us a total of 6. So this creation, orchestrated by the Jewish and Christian God, does not support heterosexism or duality. Instead, it celebrates diversity. Now you may know that traditional shamans often bend gender. That is, if the person is biologically a male, the shaman may dress as a female. The shaman is beyond sex, and the shaman is striving for completion. Such a person is able to powerfully connect with spirits, with deity. Let me just say for now that that idea is very much in the Bible. There are places in the Bible where God is referred to in feminine metaphors, and Jesus himself said that he wanted to be like a mother hen gathering her chicks under her wings. Remember Joseph and his so-called coat of many colors? The same words are used elsewhere in the Bible to refer to clothing worn by virgin daughters of priests. Jesus himself had a special cloak. That's no surprise. Joseph was one of the archetypes of the Messiah. The other major messianic archetype is David. Who was the love of David's life? Jonathan, the crown prince. There are only 2 major love stories in the entire Bible. One is that of Jonathan and David, the other is that of Ruth and Naomi. And Naomi bends sex and gender roles all to pieces. Are you beginning to see a pattern here? If you think the Bible has value, maybe it's time to forget all the propaganda. Maybe it's time to read it with open eyes for yourself. Thank you so much for listening. Peace and wholeness to you.